It was the abandoned pair of children's sneakers lying beside the shoulder that made me pull over, but it was the woman walking a few yards ahead, her coat dusty, her steps unsteady, and her eyes fixed on the endless stretch of highway, that made me forget every appointment I had that day. I had driven that road through the rolling hills outside Billings, Montana, dozens of times, yet something about the silence surrounding her felt heavier than the wide American sky. As I slowed my truck and offered to help, she looked at me with exhausted eyes that seemed to carry years of invisible storms. Before I could even introduce myself, her first question wasn't about where we were or whether I could give her a ride. She simply asked if I believed that someone who had made one terrible mistake deserved to be forgiven. In that single moment, I realized this wasn't going to be an ordinary encounter, it was going to become one of the defining moments of my life. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters, if you believe hope can survive even the darkest seasons, and if you believe compassion, forgiveness, and second chances can truly change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them the most. My name is Nathan, and I had spent nearly 15 years working as a traveling construction inspector across the western United States. Life had taught me to notice the small things people overlooked, but nothing had prepared me for meeting Grace that chilly autumn afternoon. She accepted the ride only after several moments of hesitation, carefully thanking me as though accepting kindness was something she no longer believed she deserved. During the long drive toward the nearest town, the silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It felt respectful, almost sacred, as though the road itself understood that some stories could only be told when the heart was ready. Eventually, Grace began sharing pieces of her life. She had once lived in Spokane, Washington, where she worked at a neighborhood library and volunteered at her church every weekend. She had been known as the dependable daughter, the reliable friend, the person everyone trusted. Then a series of difficult choices, financial pressure, and overwhelming pride had pushed her away from the people who loved her. Instead of asking for help when everything began falling apart, she disappeared, convinced everyone would be better without her. Years passed before she finally realized that running away had only deepened the wounds she had hoped to escape. The question she had asked me on the highway stayed with me throughout her story. I didn't have perfect answers because my own life wasn't untouched by regret. After losing my wife, Rebecca, to illness several years earlier, I had buried myself in work instead of allowing family and friends to help me heal. I understood what loneliness could convince a person to believe. I understood how guilt could become louder than truth. As we talked, it became clear that Grace wasn't searching for money or a destination nearly as much as she was searching for permission to believe her life still had value. When we reached a small diner just outside town, we shared a simple meal. The waitress greeted everyone by name, and watching ordinary kindness unfold around us reminded Grace of the community she had abandoned years before. She quietly admitted that her younger sister, Sarah, still lived in Spokane, though they hadn't spoken in almost 6 years. Every birthday, every Christmas, every family gathering had passed without a single phone call because Grace believed her absence was less painful than facing disappointment. But deep inside, she had never stopped hoping that someone might still remember the person she once tried to be. The following morning, instead of continuing my business trip, I drove her to a local church where the pastor helped her reconnect with outreach services and locate Sarah's current address. Grace spent nearly an hour writing a handwritten letter because she felt some conversations deserved ink instead of text messages. She didn't ask for sympathy or excuses. She simply admitted where she had failed, accepted responsibility for the pain she had caused, and expressed one humble wish, that if forgiveness was still possible, she would spend the rest of her life proving she had changed. 3 weeks later, while I was inspecting another project in Wyoming, my phone rang. Grace's voice sounded entirely different from the woman I had met walking alone on the highway. Sarah had driven across 2 states after receiving the letter. There had been tears, long conversations, quiet prayers, and the kind of embrace that heals wounds words cannot reach. Their family wasn't magically perfect again, but they had chosen something stronger than resentment. They had chosen to begin again, one day at a time. Months later, I received a Christmas card showing Grace standing beside Sarah, several church volunteers, and a group of smiling children during a community food drive. On the back she had written that forgiveness hadn't erased the past, but it had given the future room to grow. She thanked me for stopping on a lonely highway, but the truth was that she had changed me just as much. Whenever life tempted me to believe that people were beyond redemption, I remembered the woman whose first question challenged everything I thought I knew about grace. Before this story comes to its close, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a moment when someone showed you unexpected kindness or gave you a second chance. Your story might become the encouragement another viewer desperately needs today. And if this journey touched your heart, reminded you to never give up on people, or inspired you to believe that compassion can still transform lives, please like this video, share it with someone who could use a little hope today, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate faith, resilience, and the incredible power of choosing kindness. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't happen in crowded places or extraordinary moments. Sometimes they begin on a quiet highway, with one simple question, one compassionate stranger, and one decision to believe that no heart is ever too far from finding its way home.